This video is brought to you by my friends at BetterHelp. So, with Attack on Titan's ending, well, happening this year, I thought it would be a good time to go back and revisit the manga ending for the series, just so, I could refresh myself, because once that final episode drops, I'm going to be making comparisons to see what and what hasn't changed. So, I'm going to analyze the ending here and give you my brutal thoughts reading for the first time in nearly 3 years. But now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp, who offer affordable access to therapy all at the click of the button or tap of your ceramic shield using my affiliate link. As I always like to say, health is wealth, and while that includes physical exercise and good eating habits, all of that means nothing without also taking care of your mental health. This is something I am very passionate about, as my own mental health adversities have shaped me, and a lot of my successes is mainly in due part to BetterHelp's amazing service. After filling out a short survey, I was immediately matched with an amazing, professional, and certified therapist who helped me get through a very dark portion of my life, dealing with things like anxiety, self-doubt, depression, and of course, helping me get through those things so I can make either better content or be a better person in my own day-to-day life. Because sometimes that voice in our head gets to be a little too much and we need to vent our frustrations. So if you are like me, then I think a therapist from BetterHelp could potentially be a great fit for you. BetterHelp offers a convenient way to connect with licensed therapists, making therapy more accessible. You can choose phone calls, video chats, or messaging for your sessions. With over 30,000 therapists in their network, you have access to diverse expertise. Starting is easy. Fill out a questionnaire, get matched with a therapist in 48 hours, and schedule sessions at your convenience. If your initial match doesn't feel right, switch to a new therapist at no extra cost. Join over 4 million people using BetterHelp for a healthier, happier life. Visit betterhelp.com/SeaTactics, that's BetterHelp.com/SeaTactics to start today with 10% off your first month. Thank you very much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring the video. Okay, so starting right off, I read the entire volume 34, which is currently the final volume as of this video's release, meaning I read 135 to 139, including the bonus pages that Isayama released for volume 35, just so you know. So getting right into this, man, I actually really enjoyed the final volume again, and honestly, I always liked the final chapters of AOT. I didn't feel they were perfect, but I felt they were good, and people were hating on them way too much. But what I learned reading this, however, is I really think even I overrated people's negative opinions on this final volume, and even my own opinions of my initial reading. Now, I didn't entirely think highly of it, but I did walk away clearly enjoying this ending. The whys of why I think this is, however, I think are the most interesting, and you may be surprised as to why I think this is the case. So just, jumping right in, well, first of all, I really thought it was great to start out the final chapter with Eren and Armin talking together as kids, sitting on the very same dock where they stood when the Colossal Titan first appeared in episode 1. And it really does remind us all of what their goals were from the very beginning, and through that, we realize really that Eren, Armin, and Mikasa all are some of the most static characters in the series, with Eren for sure being the most static. You realize really that Eren, throughout every episode or chapter of this series, has only been thinking of going through with all of this, as the Attack Titan's power makes it possible for Eren to see the future. However, even Armin calls out Eren that even if the Attack Titan so heavily influenced Eren in his actions, he didn't need to beat up Armin or lie to Mikasa the way he did. It's revealed that Eren did that to push the two away on purpose, and it was his plan from the start to do just that. And the reason is because he planned to make Eldians the heroes that would defy Eren and the Rumbling. And really, this is highly selfless. You realize here that Eren became the biggest threat anyone has ever known to unite under a common threat and end the division of Marley and Eldia, putting a rest to their bloody generational war. After all, the world is now indebted to Eldia for saving what's left of the 80% the Rumbling destroyed. And man, it's just so crazy thinking about how big 80% is. That is literally the majority of all life on this Earth. If this were to happen on Earth today, it would literally put humanity into a situation where they could possibly go extinct and likely has already made a majority of living species extinct by that point even. Here's the catch though, even though Eren was defeated and unsuccessful in 100% rumbling, he still basically won. In no sense of the word did anyone but Eren really win here when you really begin to think about it. He destroyed 80% of the planet. Come on, he won, even though he was killed in the end. This is because, if anything, for the Survey Corps and what was left of humanity against Eren, their victory was a Pyrrhic victory. So moving through the pages of the chapter here, after this they move on to Ymir, where it's revealed that throughout all of this, Ymir loved King Fritz, and this is something I still can't for the life of me get. Not because it's necessarily bad writing or a bad situation, but mostly because I feel like I'm missing something with the story. It felt as if Ymir loving King Fritz comes out of nowhere because literally throughout the entire series, we only see Ymir be hunted down, nearly killed, turned into a titan, is eaten by her children, dies a miserable death after living a miserable life. Yeah, I just don't know about this whole Ymir cross Fritz ship. It just doesn't compute to me. However, I do understand what Isayama was going for here, but I don't know. I just felt it was just too rushed, and it felt like it just needed like one more moment to really have it all come together and flesh it out. I always thought the best way for Isayama to do this would be to give Mikasa more of a spotlight in this final moment. It really does feel like Mikasa's story is connected to this mention of Ymir and Fritz's love. However, once again, I still didn't hate this scene as much as I did when I originally read it, which I think I was much more negative on it, which we'll talk about later, why that feeling keeps coming back up generally. Throughout all of this though, Ymir only wanted to be freed from her love for this man, which that person after all of these years is Mikasa. She is, well, basically the chosen one, so to speak. And once again, I don't know, I just feel like we miss sort of something leading up to this. Mikasa being the answer that Ymir sought actually isn't a bad way to go about this, but since it all hinges on this idea that from the beginning of the timeline, Mikasa was always meant to set Ymir free, I don't know. I felt like I wasn't shown why Mikasa should be in that role. I get why she is in that role, and I want her to be in that role, but it feels like Isayama didn't get to write what I think was a moment between Ymir and Mikasa that we just didn't get. This is the one thing that is keeping Attack on Titan's ending for many people from being, in their opinion, objectively a perfect masterpiece. Which I understand why. However, I love how it touches upon Eren's memories from both the past and the future affecting his thinking, making all of his experiences feel simultaneous. This paints a picture really of a tragedy as Eren took it upon himself over time itself and different timelines to do the hard things that needed to be done. Namely, Eren admits to sending Dinah Fritz's Titan to eat Karla Jaeger on the day Wall Maria fell, following the course of history that he chose. Eren killed his own mother because he knew that to kickstart the timeline, that Karla dying was all necessary to happen. Eren, in essence, was playing God, and Barclophagus, Reiner, and Annie are technically innocent and were manipulated by a future version of Eren. Continuing on, Eren and Armin visit the ocean, which once again, a great piece of writing to have them here of all things. I mean, the ocean has always been their symbol of freedom. What they did all of this for was just to see this sight. Armin asks if Mikasa will move on from Eren, to which Armin punches Eren, questioning whether telling Mikasa to forget him compensates for his past actions. Eren admits he doesn't want Mikasa to forget about him, that he loves her and that he wants to stay with her. And this scene always is pointed out as this grand scene where everything goes wrong for Eren's character, that it doesn't make sense that he would love Mikasa, that he is a wimp for even admitting he has feelings because feelings are bad and we're men and men shouldn't have feelings. I never understood the hate. Is it a little cringe to see Eren, a character that for the entirety of the final arc has been super freaking edgy, now be, well, defeated? A hard thing to watch? I mean, I don't know about you, but that seems all pretty natural and pretty in character. I mean, wouldn't you make a cringy scene if you were defeated? The reason for this is quite simple. Eren literally just completed his life's goal and is about to die, and this final moment is the one time in his entire life that he was able to be free from the pain of existence. Let's cut this scene some slack here. I think it's time to give this scene its flowers. And I think that's totally fair because, yes, Eren is a human being and does have feelings. That's not a bad thing that he loves a girl. It's quite normal. In fact, it happens all the time. I felt for Eren quite a bit here because of that. All he wanted to do was live, and he was truly robbed of something of a normal life, all because he had the power to make a true change, and he chose to do it, knowing it would destroy him and everything else he held dear. This is a mirror of Grisha and Carla Jaeger, and it's a really great callback to the Jaegers, this sense of sacrifice they have within themselves to be selfless people. It's really good writing. I also love the fact that even though he desires to live, the feelings of wanting to kill everyone he had was very real to him. Even if he didn't know Armin and Mikasa would stop him, he knew that on that day he would still have carried out 100% rumbling through to fruition, and that there was nothing anyone could do unless they actively gave it their all to stop him. And he realizes, because of that, he's the guilty one here. And even if he were to somehow survive, he would be hated by the entirety of all existence. He literally is, to everyone left alive, the freaking boogeyman. After all, he did successfully bring about the end of the world. Then, the infamous line occurs as Armin thanks Eren for becoming a mass murderer for their sake. His words, not mine. And, I mean, this one is just it's not very good at all, is it? I wasn't too perturbed by this when I initially read it, if my memory serves me well, that is, but I do think this line in particular was not well written, and even Isayama has gone on to state that it was very hard to even write this scene. I mean, how do you convincingly write the line of the main hero of the series, thanking the main villain and technically hero of the series for committing mass murder and genocide? And omnicide, technically? I mean, that is a task I think is quite difficult, even for Isayama, who is very good at writing, but I still think it could have been avoided. Literally, I think all you have to do is have Armin say this instead, and I think it would have went over way better. Thank you, Eren, for everything you sacrificed for us. It's not perfect, mind you, but I think that goes over much better than thank you for mass murdering everything, and shows that Armin is still thankful for Eren for doing what he did, because in the context of this moment, it makes sense why Armin would say thank you to Eren, because they already brought up all the wrong he just did by literally Eren calling himself the freaking villain of all villains. After all, he did just kill his own mother to make sure that future war between Marley and Eldia is prevented. Really, honestly, I think Isayama still deserves credit even for this moment. It's complicated to balance so many different feelings out, as honestly, if I were Armin, I'd be raging right now, yet also crying for Eren, because Eren wasn't just some comically evil villain doing this, he was a person who fell victim to the Titans like anyone else did, except this time, he knew he had only one opening to use his ability to put an end to all of it. And sadly, he knew he had to do the tough part and play the big bad villain. Is the line not really written well? Yeah, but does that mean it doesn't make sense? Well, no. And I think it truly does, and is a great moment. And I think it's going to be corrected in the anime, honestly. Then, as Eren returns Armin outside of the paths, we see Mikasa come out of the smoke with the severed head of Eren, cradling it. I always thought that this moment was iconic because of how interesting it is with all this symbolism around it. Mikasa, the protector of Eren, the person that she loved the most, is the woman to slay him and carry his head with this gentleness and love. It's a great way to show the two sides of Mikasa, of the badass who can kill anything and sever anyone's head, yet also carry that head. Be the gentle protector who can be delicate and gentle with pretty much anything. And that fragileness, juxtaposed with the hardness, is really what makes Mikasa's character so compelling, because she has the strength to do whatever she wants, but yet she remains this, well, delicate flower who is clearly affected by all of the things going on around her. And if you think about it in that context, this just gives more credence to the relationship that Mikasa and Eren didn't get to have, and how they're so good together. They both experience a lot of the same traumas and things, and have similar mindsets. But we also learn here that Eren has erased all Titans from existence, turning everyone on the planet that is still a Titan back into their human forms. And I always wondered, what happened to the Wall Titans? Were they returned to their human forms? And if so, what are the stories they have that they could tell? As well, it's yet another reminder, Eren didn't change. His goal came true in the end, and the Titans are gone. And as everyone is turned back thanks to Eren, it's revealed that Eren seemingly talked to actually many of them one-on-one. That is, besides Peak, who seemingly never got to chat with Eren. Don't know why that is the case. But this is sad because it's here we realize Eren had every one of his friends in mind from the beginning. Even Annie and Reiner, who forgives Eren in the end. Such a sad moment. And it's here that the emotional resonance of this chapter kicks into high gear as Levi sees the ghost of his dead friends from Petra and Aluo all the way to Erwin and Hanji. Levi in the end could say that he gave it his all and put it into it, but along that journey it cost him so many people, and this is where we clearly see it. And the best part is when Levi realizes that this moment right here is the very meaning and goal of the phrase, dedicate your hearts. I just got shivers down my spine saying that. This was the very outcome, was the very cause they dedicated their hearts towards. This moment simply had me exploding with emotions like a volcano reading it. Something about it, I don't know, it just made it easy. And I think it's because we realized that the nightmare of the outside world that Eren talked about in episode 1 just does not exist anymore. They're all freed from the nightmare. I also have to admit, I was crying when we saw Sasha. That got me, it really did. It's crazy how much of an important character that she became when it took Isayama's editor begging to not have her killed at the beginning of the series. And let me tell you, what a great decision that was. I also like the touch of Mizra's Braun realizing everything she needed was right there in front of her the entire time. It wasn't her husband or some patch. It was her son, Reiner McMuscles. And now she cherishes him. So as Mikasa leaves to give Eren a proper burial, Armin makes his way between what's left of Eldia and Marley to announce himself as the killer of Eren Yeager. All the while, Mikasa and Ymir have one final chat where Mikasa thanks Ymir for her existence because, after all, it was the life that she gave birth to that gave Mikasa a meaning. And once again, didn't see any issue with this. I mean, it makes sense why Mikasa would be grateful for Ymir existing, and I think this is actually a better way to handle the whole thank you Eren for mass genociding everything scene. I think if he took this approach that he took here with that scene, we wouldn't be talking about it. Because, I mean, think about it. It was her who gave Mikasa that reason to exist and find and meet Eren. It's just really good writing. This then leads to a 3-year time skip where we see Historia and Farmer John raising their daughter together, seemingly happy. What happened is that basically the Jaegerists won over Paradis Island and took over, making Historia the leader of the Jaegerists, and once again, it's all based around the fear that Paradis feels they are under that causes them to rise to action. They're doing it out of fear, something we see humans do all the time. I also love Hitch and Rico here, among the crowds in the final shots. It's just really nice to see those two again for one final time, and to know that they're still alive and doing whatever they usually do. I guess Hitch is just constantly tired. On the boat, though, to meet the Jaegerists of Paradis, that's a weird sentence to say, by the way, everyone there in the final battle read the note from Historia to them, and I always found this moment quite harmless. Some people were saying this was bad writing because Reiner sniffing Historia's letter somehow cured him of his depression, and this was one of the reasons AOT's ending is so bad. I always felt that was such a stupid criticism of the ending, and it really still is, even though it doesn't come up as much anymore. I wonder why. We also see Mikasa visit Eren's grave under the tree, where a bird would fly down to fix Mikasa's scarf, giving birth to one of Isayama's greatest moments and creations ever, Tataka. I love this moment in particular because of the Tataka meme where everyone was like, yo, that bird is Eren. Eren is a bird now. I don't know, I just always thought that was a really funny meme and pretty hilarious. Then the final moments we see generations pass and the same cycles repeat over and over and over and over and over. War never changes, and certainly Eren putting a stop to this war would eventually just lead into, well, the next. As we see over generations war destroy and the people rebuild only to war again and destroy everything again. And as well, the final moment, which leads to a girl and her dog making their way to the tree that looks exactly like the tree that Ymir fell into when she became the founding titan. I like this moment in particular as I thought it added a lot of levity to the ending that beautifully showed to us why conflict can never and will never happen. That Erwin's words were true and he was right the entire time. There will always be conflict until there is only one person left, and just because Eren removed 80% of humanity from the board, the 20% that are still left will head into the storm of conflict willingly every single time. It's here I realized that Isayama beautifully closed the chapter of the Titans while also at the same time being true to the themes of the show and really just being quite logical about it. Just because the good guys won doesn't mean that everyone goes to live in Never Never Land where nothing bad ever happens. Much in the same way that winning the Great War never put a stop to World War II. No matter how big or large the scale of an event, humans are bound to forget that event and repeat the same mistakes. This is down to humanity being cyclical creatures who innovate through conflict and also have memories where they just choose to forget because it's super inconvenient to remember things that happened like 300 years ago, apparently. However, I think all in all, it's this theme that makes me realize that Attack on Titan's ending is perfect. It's just two execution points that I think the ending missed. One being Mikasa's character needing more here, especially in relation to the Ymir stuff and her Stockholm Syndrome. I didn't quite understand why Isayama wanted us to think Mikasa was the key to all of this. It just really felt rushed to me. As well, the whole "thanks for murdering everyone, Eren" comment was just another example of execution not being there at all times. I truly think these were the only issues with Attack on Titan's final chapter, but really other than that, I just don't get how this ending is so, quote, controversial. I don't understand how a single person could come away from this ending thinking it was the worst thing that they've ever read. The reason I say this is because it literally all makes sense the way it ended. Even the poorly executed stuff wasn't on its own bad ideas or horrible things. If anything, there was like one cringe moment that I would say is very deliberate to be there in the first place. Now, more than ever, I just feel that people overreacted to Attack on Titan's ending, and reviewing it outside of all of the hate and negativity from Twitter and Reddit, outside of that bubble and feedback loop, man, I was pretty happy about this ending. So I want to encourage you guys to reread this final volume now and tell me what your thoughts are on it outside of all of the toxic discussion and social media trolling in the comments below. Once again, if you're interested in cheap and convenient therapy, then use my sponsor code below for BetterHelp, where you'll get 10% off your first month. So what do you think about Attack on Titan's ending? Did you find something new that you didn't notice before? Did you end up liking or hating it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As well, become a patron to gain access to my mega One Piece arc reviews. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.